Yes, and the whole context of the panel, like Bala set in, is taking from the keynote that Mr. Raj Narayanam has said, right? Profitability comes with scale, and the whole discussion around this panel is around how do you grow and how do you grow profitably. The first question, and I'll just kickstart this, is Shrikant, I think from your experience in NASSCOM and beyond, we're working back with, what are the typical challenges that are faced by companies who are moving from seed to scale, specifically manufacturing and SMEs? What are the typical challenges that they face?
Thank you. First of all, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and happy to be here on the stage. Arun, if I understand the question right, you're talking of typical operational challenges that MSMEs are facing today, am I right? I think it was kind of indirectly alluded to by some of the past speakers also. Typical MSMEs, especially in the non-tech space, the first and primary concern for most of them is the adoption of technology. Because many of them have a lot of historical thing, right? I mean, they have been doing certain things for many years. There's a little bit of resistance to change, and technology has always been viewed by many of them as not as an investment, but as a burden, as an expense. And so that becomes a challenge. So that's the first thing, and I think that kind of becomes, if one can overcome that, they can really change the game. The second, of course, is all about the fund, the cash flow. Those are the things, because I think these two are in a way intertwined. Because when you have your shortage of funds, you don't know what to do with it. Whether you want to put that money in day-to-day business and increase your productivity and production, or do you want to invest on technology which will definitely but give you a result in the future. So it's a catch-22 situation for many of them.
Enabling a mindset for adoption and then prioritizing with a view of today and the future. I think that's a key part, right? Coming to you, Tanmay, I think ACO is probably one of the digital native companies when it comes to insurance space, probably first of its kind. It has a completely online-led model. From when you're looking at growth, what are the specific strategies or approaches that you take to drive growth, especially when you are completely online as a firm or as a company?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because we've now been around for about 7 years, and we've pursued a D2C model, and we have disrupted the market to a large extent. However, digitally native transactions in India there's still a long way to go. We read a lot about UPI transactions, but the number of people who are transacting and buying, that number really needs to go up. People hesitate. We managed to overcome that by building a whole bunch of content, by ensuring that we focus on NPS, our Net Promoter Score. We have innovated by saying, okay, we may not have offices, for example, in Hyderabad, but we are setting up 2 ACO garages here, which means that for your insurance claims, the cars can come to our garage. Even if you're not a customer of ours, you can come to our garage. So there is a physical brick and mortar presence. So there's a bunch of stuff. I think, it can't just be purely digital. You have to be digital, and you have to have a brick and mortar for growth. And that's what we are focusing on to drive our growth in the next phase. Yeah.
Got it. So I think the key thing is focus on building that trust and confidence. Have a balance between being digital and being physical as well. And more importantly, how do you interplay between them? Thanks for that. Of course, the first session that we've been talking about, AI has been a theme and a tipping point in the way the technologies are being. What are your thoughts around the impact of AI and how that helps companies grow specifically in driving growth in the market?
Thank you all. First of all, thank you for inviting me. So just to answer it, when it comes to growth, it's not only focus on the top line. Top line is your revenue. Most important thing is when you look at the bottom line. And if you start focusing on increasing your bottom line, you will realize that you need to reduce your operating cost, which can be optimizing your direct cost and also your indirect cost. So that's the first important thing, especially for MSMEs and SMBs. Keep a target of focusing on increasing your gross margins. That's one. And the moment you start looking at it, you will realize that you have to keep your operational costs lower. And AI is a tool. Yes, there are a lot of guidance is available in the market. But for your business, try to identify the areas where the AI technologies can reduce your operating cost. And that's how your bottom line will increase. And ChatGPT, the subscription based is available. So, it will help you to reduce your support cost. It will help you to optimize your operational cost. And a lot of content is available on social media. Might be, that you should spend more time understanding the tools, select the right AI tool which will fit for your business, and figure out how you can reduce your operating cost. The next important input is automations of your content, automation of your emails. So there's a lot of automation guidance is available when it comes to AI. And third important thing is train your employees. If you train your employees on AI, probably their productivity will be increased, thereby your revenues and overall your operating cost should reduce. So that's one single advice is focus on bottom line. If you start increasing your gross margins, whether it's AI adoption or any other tools, you'll see a difference in your business. Thank you. So.
Thanks, Srinivas. So focus around profitable growth. When we are largely speaking with a manufacturing and an SME focus, a lot of the growth comes from B2B and corporate accounts, right? And I think one of the key challenges of growth is to say, how do you grow in the B2B and corporate account? And with that, probably Tanmay, Acco is a great example of how you're leveraging networks like PhonePe, Amazon, and others to drive growth in selling insurance in the corporate and the corporate accounts. So any thoughts around how you've any tips that you can give to the team, to the audience here, in terms of how you can drive the growth? What are the approaches of doing that?
Yeah, when we started off, our first customer was Amazon. And being a digital-first company, the only way we could make it succeed was to building a direct pipe with Amazon is not easy. So you got to really focus hard on your data security first before you start approaching these digital partners. Ensure that is rock solid. That builds confidence. Secondly, the PhonePes, the Amazons of the world, they have such a huge product range. They have such a diverse portfolio. You have to figure out how does your product fit in contextually. So if someone's taking a taxi ride, it might make sense to insure that person for the taxi ride. A Zomato driver, for example, he's employed today, he may not be employed 5 days later. How do you build a product which will help Zomato to say, I want to price insurance by the day, or I want to price insurance by the week, and deliver it digitally? There are pain points that a bunch of these companies have, which can be solved through smart technology. And that's really what we've done differently. The other insurers, they're great, but they have legacy issues. We are new, we can ramp up, we can roll out fast, and build contextual products for their customers.
Got it. So the key takeaways I would summarize is to say, focus around structuring to the need, contextualize to what the company needs at the end of the day. I think that's the secret sauce from a B2B perspective. The key second is focus around hygiene like security, compliance, regulations, because when it comes to corporate, that becomes important. Third is around leverage technology, because as you structure to more number of companies, your fragmentation increases, so use technology effectively and smartly to manage that. Yeah. Thanks a lot. And all of these are, a lot of these practices which are used in pockets. There are companies which have scaled on the back of this. And coming from your experience, Srikanth, in NASSCOM, what's your approach of cross-pollinating them, right? Because if we are, and taking from the minister's vision, saying that if Telangana has to reach the growth target that is there, this cross-pollination becomes very important. So at NASSCOM, what's the approach of cross-pollinating it, ensuring that, the leading practices from one seat to scale is passed on to the next generation and the other cohorts as well?
No, I think I completely agree that cross-pollination, learning from each other is absolutely not an option anymore. People will have to do that. And first of all, I'll give you two things here. One, from a technology industry perspective itself, there's a lot of cross-pollination which is happening. Your various kinds of organizations with their services, with their BPMs, with their global corporations doing captive in-house work like GCCs. or even product companies. There's a lot of cross-pollination happening among themselves. That's one. The second piece is also about with the user industry, because the technology industry or a technology company is not, I mean, while it may do work for themselves, eventually the end customer is a manufacturing organization, is somebody else, right? I mean, doing a different brick and mortar industry. So that's where I think the cross-pollination has to happen. As NASSCOM, I think we have a huge batch of SMEs who are our members, right? I mean, when I'm saying SMEs here, they are technology SMEs, typically in the region of about whatever, 200, less than 200, 250 crores kind of companies, but doing very, very good cutting edge work, having products on their own, doing SaaS work. But again, I think what we're also now trying to do is, given that there is a lot of need for the brick and mortar industry, as I would call them, the core industry, also to adopt technology, as NASSCOM, we're trying to kind of bring them together. I would call this in very simple terms the demand-supply bridge, right? I mean, one, there is a demand and there is a supply there. How do we kind of bring them together? And what is also pertinent is, in today's world, the amount of technology that is being bought in the domestic market is also important. I mean, it's going up. If you really looked at the overall pie of the technology industry, it's actually gone up significantly in the last 4 years. In 2022, the technology industry for the domestic market was about 44 billion. But if you look at 2025 numbers, the numbers that we have released a few days ago on Monday is about 58 billion, a little over 58 billion, which means it's about close to about a little over 30% shift in the domestic market, which means who is buying? I mean, the technology companies are not buying. The companies who are in the core industry are buying this technology. So there is a shift. So, I mean, we have to do much more than what we're doing today. Probably we have to do 10x, 20x of what we're doing today. And the more we have such forums, I'm sure it'll kind of exponentially grow.
Yeah, thanks, Srikanth. Thanks for tying it back to the forum, because forums like this is where a lot of the exchange of ideas and the cross-pollination happens. And like you rightly said, the ideas can come from abroad, from GCCs. The ideas can be from domestic market. Ideas can be from seed to scale stories, which is what we've seen during the start of the day as well. Yep, thank you. Thanks for that. Coming back, I'm just changing a bit of a stack over here, right? So we talked about growth. We talked about driving growth in B2B market. The focus right now is there is another lever of growth, especially if you're in India, which is your marketplaces and digital infrastructure that is opening up a lot of marketplaces, right? And that's where I'll turn to Srinivas. From your experience, I think there's a huge potential, and that's being discovered right now as the story goes over, is how can companies leverage growth using marketplaces like ONDC and others, right? So any thoughts around where do you see the future and where the potential areas exist for SMEs and manufacturing companies to leverage marketplaces like this?
Yeah, thank you. So, see, we are the authorized partners for ONDC. So our consumer brand called as Bhaiya.com. So we are doing use cases in Pune. So what we are doing is we are connecting the local businesses with the local residents, able to give 1 billion consumer business market access, not only to the retail businesses, but as Tanmay was talking about how insurance space they are disrupting through D2C model. So even the manufacturers, small and mid-sized businesses, they can really start exploring some of the technology which government of India is doing it, like ONDC, and already I think a lot of tier 1 cities, FMB segment, you see the market access has been helping a lot of these MSMEs and SMB businesses. So market access is something all the businesses should explore through the digital public infrastructures, and ONDC is one of them, and we are more than happy. There are other different market access opportunities are available. A lot of stuff is going on in the social media, and it's called a social commerce, and post AI, post automation of your digital marketing, especially the content, and you see that the spend which is required to reach to the customers doesn't matter whether you are in manufacturing space, doesn't matter whether you are in a consumer space. If you can really get your AI-enabled digital marketing strategies in right, with a minor spend, you will be in a position to increase your growth. And a lot of networking platforms are coming up, and it's not only ONDC, but a lot of blockchain-related network access. So I was in Bangalore when I learned there is a suite of blockchain technologies which enables a lot of market access opportunities. And so these are few areas where the businesses can focus on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Srinivas. The other part, when it comes to digital transformation and even adopting technology, is the cost of the technology itself. And I think that's what has shifted a lot in the last 5 to 10 years, if you look at it from an India context, right? So there are two broad trends that's emerging. So one is open source technologies, which is now becoming a lot more scalable and being used at an enterprise level. Two is products for the India market built by Indian companies. So I think these are where we are able to optimize the cost of digital transformation itself, right? So I'll here kind of bring in Shrikant. From your experiences, how mature are open source technologies, or for example, how can SMEs also leverage the India stack, the India products as such, and to drive digital transformation amongst them?
Okay, I think again, I think we will talk more from an MSME context, right? I think what has open source, or even from that matter, even cloud technologies done today, is about accessibility. We started off saying that, what is the biggest struggle for MSMEs? For biggest struggle for MSMEs is investment on technology, right? I mean, today for them, we're saying that many of them are looking at it as cost and not as an investment. Probably because it used to be a capex kind of a model. But what has open source done today? What has the entire open domain done today is made it more like an OpEx model, where they can, kind of scale as they go. They can buy as much as they want today, keep trying newer ones, and as things change, so the TCO is pretty low. It's also scalable. And last but not the least is, if it's not working, you just stop, move on in life, right? So that's the biggest advantage of the open source model. So I think that has obviously definitely made a lot of inroads, especially in the MSME space. And we are seeing more of that today happening. And I think the more and more you see every new solution that's coming today invariably is a SaaS solution. It's invariably a cloud solution. Nobody is today talking of a on-prem solution, right? Everybody is saying, come, take it, buy as many as you want, keep expanding it, and so on. So that has made things very flexible.
No, got it. I think what you rightly said, there's a level of playing field that's coming because you don't need capex. That's
Absolutely.
very important.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I think the more exciting part is you plug, you play, you grow or replace. I think that's a key part.
And
Yeah.
see, the point is, many of them are also circumspect, right? Will this work for me or not work for me? Earlier, the problem was because it was capex, they would say, boss, if I have put so much of money, am I stuck for it for life? But today, you're not. You're just saying, take it. If it doesn't work, move on.
It's more experimental mindset.
Absolutely
as well.
experimental. Yes.
So I'll come to the final question, and I know we are pressed for time as well. So Srinivas, I think from your experience, you've been across on the consulting side, you've worked with companies, you've kind of founded and grown companies as well. Where do you see the adoption challenges and what are your tips from your experience that would be very relevant for the manufacturing and the SMEs per se?
Yeah. So thank you for that. So first thing is, since morning we are talking about digital transformation, is readiness for a business transformation, right? So if any organization is going for a digital transformation, they need to understand that you need an entrepreneurship mindset. You cannot set up a CEO and who is running the business as usual, and then you drive an IT budget to go for an digital transformation investment. Probably it's not going to work. You know the story of SAP. A lot of companies have failed in implementing SAP successfully or ERP successfully. I myself been an 18 years enterprise retail architect working globally with different customers. What I've learned is, first, promoter are the shareholders. They need to have and build mindset. So the existing business as usual mindset of their leadership team need to be transformed. So the business transformation should start initially with the leaders. The change management is the first important thing. The business transformation can be achieved only when a build or entrepreneurship mindset is there. Second thing is you need to have the right talent. You cannot bring emotions with your existing resources. You need to find a strategy, get the right resources who has the experience of transformation. If you don't have them, look for some consultants who can really help you in that transformation, who are specialists, either it is a manufacturing business, either it is any of the business what you are doing it. It's very important that you identify the right consultant or right talent who can enable that business transformation. Then you build your layer of digital transformations. Then you figure out of your investments, whatever you want to do, whether it's AI enablement or market automations, or you want to, really reduce your cost. And this is something is very important. And getting the right tools, get ready to change your tools. If you're using an existing finance systems, HR systems, or any of your CRM systems, think about the future. Everyone talks about AI, everyone talks about web-enabled technologies, but a lot of industries, especially even the small businesses, they're still on a client-based applications. There are a lot of limitations on the client-based applications. So you need to be ready to change your tools. Get a right architects, who can really look at your IT landscape. Get you some, white paper where they can tell you, hey, how your systems, client-based systems need to be switched to a web-based systems, which will support cloud, which will support mobile applications, which will support APIs, which will help you to connect to a lot of open source technologies, third-party systems, right? So that's how, you need to define your fundamental foundation to be correct, right? Then define a business plan, get a right program manager with the right consulting experience. I think these few things, it is an investment, but if it is driven by the leaders and if you follow these foundations, I've seen with my experience, the main reason why the transformation is not successful, you see one of these foundation block is not in place. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Srinivas. I think you've been a great panel. Thanks a lot for the time and sharing your experiences. We would have loved to take some questions from the audience, but we are a bit tied up. We've run out of time, so we anyway are available offline. Quickly to summarize, I think there are multiple levers for growth. Of course, online is one way of growing. Of course, you need to build the trust and confidence by bringing a mix of online and offline. It's important to kind of have a different play and a structured products when you go to the corporate and the B2B side. That's some of the things that we've heard. And when you're adopting a roadmap or a journey toward digital transformation, keep a focus, bring in the right mix, like Srinivas said, of a mindset from the business perspective to the implementation side, with enabling your teams and building the capability for the teams, because that is where the lasting change happens, right? So that's where some of the key takeaways to kind of summarize this discussion. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you, Arun. I believe how the customer pulse can be leveraged to drive the growth with the right mindset, with the right tools to transform the levers. Now, I would like to invite KK Maheshwari Garu and Mohan Raidu Garu and Sayantan Bose to felicitate the guests. Please come on to the dais. It's a heartfelt thank you to the esteemed panelists for an insightful discussion what they had on the customer-centric growth and strategies at the GrowthX panel with the theme of customer and growth. Your expertise is truly appreciated, and your experience sharing really helps the audience to understand how this can be taken forward. Thank you.